this is why I take notes in a notebook usually. My phone hates me. Okay, also, ooh, I need to turn down my brightness, or else it looks like I'm telling you a horror story. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Evelyn, and today we are talking about all of the contemporary / one historical book coming out in the second half of 2020 that I am super excited about. I will be putting up a second video next week where I talk about all of these sci-fi fantasy releases for the second half of 2020 that I'm very excited about. At the beginning of the year, I did 3 of these videos and I included an LGBT category as well. However, since I'm a little bit late getting these out, I did go ahead and put the LGBT books in with the rest of them, so I will be telling you, don't worry, if there's LGBT representation in a book, I will be on top of it. As long as I could, figure that out, because sometimes I see no hint that there's LGBT representation in a book until someone reads it and is like, hey, did you know this character's queer? And I'm like, no, I would have read it way sooner if I had. Like I said, at the beginning of the year, I did go through my anticipated releases for the first half of 2020. Unfortunately, due to the coronavirus, a lot of books had their release dates pushed to the second half of the year or even to the beginning of 2021. And so I'm just going to start off by going through books that I've already talked about in that previous video, but whose release dates have changed. So More Than Maybe by Erin Hahn is now set to release on July 21st. I've actually read an e-arc of this book and it's amazing, and if you love music, you should totally pick it up. Today, Tonight, Tomorrow by Rachel Lynn Solomon is now set to release on July 28th. I Kissed Alice by Anna Birch, illustrated by Victoria Ying, is now set to release on July 28th, and there is LGBT representation in that one. 6 Angry Girls by Adrian Kisner is set to release on August 18th, and This Is All Your Fault by Amina May Safi is set to release on October 13th. Now to the books that I have not talked about yet. Starting with The Voting Booth by Brandy Colbert, which is set to release on July 7th. So initially I was intrigued by this book because it is set over the course of a single day, and there are a handful of books that I've read that are also set over the course of a single day, and I found that they're always very exciting. Books like I'm Not Dying With You Tonight by Gilly Segal and Kimberly Jones, or The Sun Is Also a Star. There we go. The Voting Booth follows Marva Sheridan, who wants to change the world, which is why she is so excited to be voting in her very first election. Mara has been super involved politically. She's been getting people registered, and she's super excited because this is her first chance to make a difference with her vote. On the other hand, we have Duke Crenshaw, who really could not care less about voting. He just wants to get it over with and be done with it in time for his band's very first paid gig. But when Duke gets turned away at their polling place, Marva makes it her mission to make sure that his vote gets counted. So this is a political rom-com by a Black author, and apparently some shenanigans, possibly including a cat, happen over the course of this day. Next we have Loveless by Alice Oseman, which releases on July 9th. This follows Georgia, who is a fanfic-obsessed, hopeless romantic who has never actually been in love, or even kissed anyone, or even had a crush on anyone before. But she's going into her first year of university, college for my fellow Americans, and she has a plan. She's armed with a membership to the Shakespeare Society and her very outgoing roommate, and she is going on a quest to find love. But soon this plan starts to wreak havoc amongst her friends, and she begins to question why love just does not seem to come as easily to her as it does to other people. And when the terms asexual and aromantic start to pop up, she begins to even wonder whether she's been searching for the right thing in the first place. So this is very exciting to me. I have read Alice Oseman's Radio Silence, and I've been reading her Heartstopper graphic novel slash webcomic. And I love, like, her... It's, like, soft and slice of life and very focused on, like, friendships, but also, like, hits you very emotionally deeply, just like gut punches you. Like, her writing is so just like deceptively emotionally distracted. I haven't heard of or read very many books with asexual representation in them, so I'm hoping that this is a good one. I believe it's Own Voices. I will look that up, and if I am wrong, then I will cut that out. Next, we have the one historical fiction on this list. Usually I am not super into historical fiction unless it's historical fantasy. However, this book is by literally one of my favorite authors ever, so we're giving it a chance, and that is We Are Not Free by Traci Chee, which is set to release on September 1st. This book follows 14 different teenagers who all live in Japantown in San Francisco. Their lives are turned upside down when they join the over 100,000 people of Japanese ancestry in the United States who are removed from their homes and forced into incarceration camps during World War II. So Traci Chee's Reader trilogy is like one of my favorite fantasy series of all time. It's so well written, and the storyteller in particular made me cry so many times because of how beautiful and emotional it was. And I've seen people describing this book as heart-wrenching, so I think it might destroy me just a little bit. But I'm so excited because I've heard Traci talk about this book a couple of times, and the one thing that really resonated with me is that she has these 14 separate point of view characters, and she wasn't sure how she was going to connect all of them, and she decided that the thread that was going to run throughout the story is just love. And that's so beautiful, and I'm very, very excited to read that because I adore her and her writing, so next we have The Bridge by Bill Konigsberg, which releases on September 1st. This follows two teenagers who meet for the very first time when they both decide that they are going to jump off of the George Washington Bridge on the same night. So, content warning for suicidal ideation and depression. As a gay teen, Aaron feels like a total outsider, and he is losing his battles with depression and loneliness. At the same time, Tilly just feels like she will never ever be good enough. There are 4 possible outcomes to this situation. Either Aaron jumps and Tilly doesn't, Tilly jumps and Aaron doesn't, both of them jump, or neither of them jump. And this book explores all 4 of those possibilities. This book is inspired by the author's own battle with depression and suicidal ideation. I don't think you can probably compare this super heavily to Jane Unlimited by Kristen K. Shore, but Jane Unlimited by Kristen K. Shore is another book that has deviating timelines, and that was such a very cool way to tell a story, and so I think that plus like really intense emotions is going to be a very interesting reading experience. Next we have Recommended for You by Laura Silverman, which is set to release on September 1st. Shoshana Greenberg has a lot on her plate at the moment. Her moms are fighting at home, her car that she loves so much is like on its last legs. So her job at her favorite bookstore has become sort of a safe place and a respite from all the chaos of her day-to-day life. And when her boss announces that whoever sells the most books is going to get a holiday bonus, she is super excited at the chance to at least fix her car. Like, she can't fix all of her problems, but at least she can get her car fixed. But the situation becomes a little more complicated when new hire Jake Kaplan begins to outsell her, and he doesn't even read books. So Shauna is totally prepared to take him down, though, even if he is a super cute, eligible Jewish single. He is the enemy and must be defeated. Except their competition is starting to bring them closer together. I wonder what's going to happen. We love a rom-com with a literary element. Next we have Miss Meteor by Tehlor K. Mejia and Anna Marie McLemore, which is set to release on September 22nd. In its entire history, the Miss Meteor beauty pageant has never had a winner who looks like Lida Perez. In order for Lida to become the most underdog winner in this competition's history, she'll need to accept help from her ex-best friend, Chee Quintanilla, which means learning how to forget the past, how to share herself with the world, how to love the parts of herself that nobody else understands, and how to imagine a world where girls like her and Chee can be everything. I make it a point to try to read diversely. I make it a point to try to read books by Latinx authors because I do identify as Latinx, although I acknowledge that I am very white. But specifically, my family is Mexican, and Tehlor and Anna Marie are two of the only authors out there right now, at least in YA, who are Mexican American and writing stories that are based on that culture and have characters in that culture. And so I'm very excited for them to be collaborating on this book. It seems to be very different than things that I've read from either of them in the past, which is exciting too. Obviously I'm not going to relate to the there's never been a pageant winner who looks like her, because like, I'm not blonde, but I'm pretty pale. I have that going for me in terms of not being discriminated against, but Mexican culture is something that I grew up with. It's something that is very, like, familiar and comforting to me, so every time that I get to hold on to a little bit of that in the story, it's very exciting, so. Next, we have The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, set to release on September 29th. This book is compared to Knives Out, y'all. I just watched Knives Out quite recently, and I loved it, and I love mysterious, like, puzzles and things in general, and this book seems to have all of that, so I'm very, very excited. Avery Graham's life plan is as follows: survive high school, earn herself a scholarship, and then get the heck out. She's never even heard of billionaire Tobias Hawthorne, which is what makes it so strange when he dies and leaves his entire inheritance to her. In order to claim this fortune, Avery must move into the sprawling Hawthorne house, which is filled with puzzles, riddles, codes, secret passageways, and the incredibly angry, recently dispossessed Hawthorne family. There are 4 Hawthorne grandsons who all grew up expecting to inherit this money, and they are all very suspicious of Avery. At worst, she is a con woman. At best, maybe just another one of their grandfather's puzzles. However, the real game for Avery is just going to be trying to survive in the strange new world of wealth and privilege. Next, we have One Way or Another by Kara McDowell, which is set to release on October 6th. This is another multiple timeline story. I don't know why we're getting so many this year, but I'm here for it. So, Paige Collins' extreme anxiety means that she struggles making any and all decisions, which, like, same girl, same. For instance, picking which last-minute Christmas vacation plan she should go on. A romantic mountain cabin trip with her best friend / longtime crush Fitz, or a trip to New York, the city that she's been dreaming of visiting for as long as she can remember, with her mother. The pressure of choosing has Paige nearly petrified. until she slips on a grocery store floor and her life splits into two alternate timelines. New York with an unexpectedly cute and charming tour guide versus getting her chance to be with Fitz up in the mountains. But in both realities, she'll need to confront her own anxiety or else risk losing either happy ending. So as someone who struggles with anxiety, I am always excited for like explicit anxiety rep within stories, and the fact that this is like the demon she's going to have to battle, I have very high hopes that she will be able to get at least one of her happily ever afters. Next we have A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow by Laura Taylor Namey, which is set to release on October 6th. Lila Reyes has always dreamed of the day when she and her sister Pilar will inherit their family's Miami bakery, but this past spring has been pretty rough. Her best friend abandoned her, her longtime boyfriend broke up with her, and her beloved abuela has passed away. Her parents are understandably concerned for her emotional health, and so they decide to send her to Winchester, England for the summer, where she can work at the family inn. But being a Miami Cuban baker is Lila's destiny, and she cannot help but miss her home. However, there are some definite upsides to England, like the charmingly positive Orion Maxwell, who makes himself Lila's personal tour guide. And soon a special London opportunity has her kind of split between London and her dream that she's been holding on to for her entire life of running this bakery. So I adored Laura Taylor Namey's first book, Library of Lost Things, and I'm excited for the romance in this book because I think it's going to have the same thing that I loved about the romance in that one, which is that Lila has her own issues, but so does her love interest. It says here in my notes that Orion's mother is struggling with early onset dementia, and so I love it when both characters have something going on, right? When a love interest doesn't have their own like life issues, it's kind of boring. And in Library of Lost Things, the two characters did a wonderful job of learning to like support and love each other and help each other through their issues, and so I'm really excited to hopefully see that again in this story. Next we have Instant Karma by Marissa Meyer, which is set to release on November 3rd. Prudence Daniels is a chronic overachiever who is tired of being surrounded by lazy, rude, arrogant people like her slacker lab partner, Quint Erickson. After a night out with her friends, she wakes up with the mysterious ability to cast instant karma on people, and she is thrilled to be able to enact justice on all the awful people who live in her hometown. However, her powers do have a single limitation. They do not work on Quint. This is exciting. We love like a casual superpower. We love like the person who's like the one weakness, and you know she's gonna be obsessed with him and then realize that he's actually not as bad as she thought he was. And also it's Marissa Meyer, and I kind of implicitly trust her because I really enjoy everything she's written, so. And last but not least, we have The Love Curse of Melanie McIntyre by Robin Talley, which is set to release on December 1st. Melanie McIntyre prides herself in being a kick-ass stage manager with a plan, and a backup plan, and a backup plan for the backup plan, because theater people are chaotic, and you need that. I speak from experience. There is only one thing that could mess this production up, and that is her love curse. Every time that Melody has fallen for someone during a show, it ultimately ends up ruining both her love life and the run. So, this is why she has sworn off romance until the production of Les Mis is over. But she did not take into account Odile Rose, who is a rising star in the acting world and also turns out to be way more sweet, funny, and caring than Melody could have expected. So remember in my last video when I joked about me and Ashley from Elsie Rosen's camp being like a sapphic stage manager slash choreographer like power couple? well, it seems as if this book is making my sapphic theater dreams come true, and that's really all you need to know, right? That is all that I have for y'all today. I am super excited to be, hopefully, fingers crossed, reading most of these. I've done a really good job of getting to a significant amount of the books that I was excited about for the beginning of this year, and so hopefully I'm able to keep that going into the second half. Stay tuned next week for my most anticipated sci-fi and fantasy releases. And with that being said, my name is Evelyn. I make new videos every magical Monday, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.